Lucia counted the money several times, hoping it was enough. In reality, there were few of them, and her salary as a school inspector was certainly not a fortune. He had to pay the bills, and after doing all the calculations, he realized that he could spend no more than €300 a day until he got an advance. It was a joke. What could he buy with that money? Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to never miss any of our engaging stories. Lucia was wandering around a supermarket and was shocked by the prices that were constantly rising. He could only afford a bottle of milk, a loaf of bread, and a packet of pasta. He didn't have enough money for butter, but he could buy an oil-based spread. In the shopping basket were a dozen eggs, a package of soy sausage, a loaf of bread, and a tomato. The eggs were easy to fry, but how could she do without sunflower oil? She couldn't afford coffee, tea, chocolate candy, mozzarella, all the things she loved very much. All she had to do was go to her ex-mother-in-law's to get some vegetables and face her typical scolding. Mrs. Amelia was a special person and she was always right. If Lucia had listened to her, she wouldn't be crying over her shopping bag now, but would be living a normal life, or maybe better. 2 years earlier, her husband Carlo had left her on her birthday while she was cooking. Carlo had drunk and eaten, after which he had told her, "Lucia, that's enough. I can't take it anymore, I'm leaving you." Lucia remained paralyzed, while Carlo continued to berate her for all her failures. At this age, we should already have grandchildren, but where are they? There aren't any, because you didn't give me a son. Lucia was speechless. What are you talking about? You're poor and you've suffered all this time. How could I have children with you? You don't even know how to take care of a cat, let alone a child. Carlo seemed to be expecting that reaction. He jumped up, dropped his chair, and walked out, saying, "I'm going to live somewhere else for a while so you can find another place. This apartment is mine." And he left. Lucia felt lost. Felix the cat came out of his hiding place and nuzzled at her feet. The house was silent. Later, someone told her that Charles had married a shoe shop clerk. It was said that Carlo often went to that shop with bunches of flowers taken from Lucia's garden. Charles's new wife was a stout woman with eyes like buttons and a nose like a navel. Charles thought that such a woman could give him many children, so he married her. The court had ordered that the properties be divided equally. Lucia got the summer house, Carlo the apartment. But Mrs. Amelia, who lived in the summer house and rented her apartment, did not want Lucia to move there. "If Lucia comes here, she'll start bringing men, and where will I go?" Amelia objected. "You'll go to your apartment, Mom," Carlo replied. Mrs. Amelia continued to live in the cottage and rented out her apartment, while Lucia remained in the city apartment. But along with the property, the court had also divided the debts, and Lucia had to pay for the rest of her life. Lucia dragged herself to the bus stop. Public transportation was rare now, but once a week an old bus passed by at the behest of the city council. The old bus stopped, and Lucia got on. On the way, he looked at the landscape. He did not want to go to the cottage and ask his mother-in-law for help. When he arrived at the cottage, he noticed a drilling rig and workers working. "I had a well built," Amelia replied proudly. "I'm tired of going to the well every time." Lucia had to stay at the cottage for the weekend. Drilling was a demanding job, and the workers had to be fed. Ricardo, the foreman, was a sturdy man who kept looking at Lucia, making her blush. "Look at this man," Amelia said to Lucia. I would like to marry him myself, win him over. Ricardo was a serious and divorced man. He didn't drink alcohol and seemed interested in Lucia. Emilia told me to come and meet you, he said to Lucia, looking embarrassed. Lucia and Ricardo began to talk outside of his work and to get to know each other. Ricardo told her about his life and his experiences. Lucia felt attracted to that serious and sincere man. Soon after, Lucia and Ricardo decided to live together. They moved into Ricardo's apartment with Felix the cat. Mrs. Emilia kept making jokes about their relationship, but Lucia was happy. Ricardo and Lucia had found a new balance, breathing together in unison. The days passed peacefully, and Lucia felt she had finally found the peace she was looking for. Ricardo proved himself to be a reliable and caring man every day, and together they built a simple but happy life. Every morning, Lucia woke up next to Ricardo and felt the warmth of their love fill her heart. One day, while Ricardo was at work, Lucia received an unexpected phone call. It was Mrs. Emilia. "Lucia, dear, I need to talk to you. It's urgent," he said in a worried tone. Lucia immediately went to the cottage, where she found Emilia, worried, lying on the sofa. "What's happening, Mrs. Emilia?" asked Lucia, worried. "I've got a letter from Charles," Emilia replied, clutching an envelope. "He says he wants to come back and take back the cottage. I don't know what to do." Lucia felt herself shiver. Despite all the time that had passed, the thought of Carlo still caused her pain. Lucia sat down next to Emilia and took her hand. "Don't worry, Mrs. Emilia. I won't let him hurt you. We'll find a solution together." Meanwhile, Ricardo returned home. "What's happening?" he asked, worried. Lucia explained the situation, and Ricardo listened attentively. "We will not allow Charles to ruin our peace," he said firmly. "We will work together to protect the cottage and our family." Over the next few days, they consulted a lawyer and took all the legal steps necessary to ensure that the cottage remained Emilia's. They also involved friends and neighbors who were ready to support them. Carlo arrived at the cottage with his usual arrogance, but found a united and determined group waiting for him. "You have no right to take back the cottage," Lucia said firmly. "This is our refuge, and we will not allow you to ruin it." Carlo tried to intimidate, to threaten, but in the end, he realized that he could not win against the unity and determination of Lucia, Ricardo, and Emilia. He walked away, defeated and angry, finally leaving in peace the family he had tried to destroy. The tension melted away, and Lucia felt a wave of relief. "We did it. We are a strong family, and nothing and no one can separate us." Life resumed its peaceful course. Lucia and Ricardo continued to build their life together, ever more united and in love. Emilia, meanwhile, enjoyed the tranquility of the cottage, happy to see happiness blossoming around her. And so, in that setting of newfound peace, Lucia understood that true strength does not lie in avoiding difficulties, but in knowing how to face them together with love and determination.